Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're making half-inch bolt tongs. We're going to start with a 10-inch long piece of 5/8 round steel. We're going to use two of those right here. I'm just marking out 2 inches on my anvil. That's where we're going to do our first set down so that we can start to do the actual jaws of the tongs first. So right here, just making my mark, half on, half off. And we're going to get that piece all situated. That'll allow us to then be able to go on and start forging down the bolster after that. Like you saw in my other video where we made tongs, same thing, 45-degree angle, half on, half off blows. That allows us to start setting down our bolster for our tongs. So that'll give us a nice good inflate. That 45-degree angle, the reason we do that, I don't know if I explained it. It just makes it easier for you to open the tongs wider when you're making them. That's all. Just gives you a little more versatility for the same amount of effort. So what we're going to do next, we're going to draw out the reins. You guys saw me do it once by hand. I've been at this for a little while, so I got myself a power hammer. This is a 50-pound Mayer's Brother power hammer. It's actually built in 1903. This thing is a monster. I got it from a guy named Ian Green over in Chicago. If you want to look up some of the stuff he does more industrial work, but he's a real cool guy. His Instagram is Iron and Wire. Check him out. He does some really cool stuff. He's a really nice guy. Alright, so now that I've got the majority drawn out, I'm just going to touch up the front end of these tongs here by hand. Try and get that front piece drawn out a little bit. I don't like to do this on the power hammer because that's, you know, it's one of those things. It's real easy to mess you can mess something up a lot quicker on a power hammer than you can by hand. So just going slow here. I'm gonna be checking the measurement. I want to get about 3 to 3.5 inches out of the front half of my tongs here. Biggest thing with that, just gotta make sure the two halves are equal. To do that, you can see I'm knocking down the back end here to form the bolster. I like to give myself about 3/4 to an inch there, then before I start cleaning it up. That's another thing. I do that by hand. If you guys have a power hammer, good for you. I would still do this part by hand unless you've been at it for a while. Same thing here. Just cleaning it up. You want to make sure that that gets ready, and then I'm going to bring it back over to the power hammer and finish drawing out the reins. If you see when I make these, I like to do a double taper. So I will, the reins will be flatter towards where your hand holds them to make them more comfortable, but they'll be skinnier and taller towards the bolster just to give that more structural strength. And that also, you know, it's mainly it's for comfort. I think it looks a little nice. I do have a round swage that I could use for this to do round handled tongs. That's just personal preference. Right here, I'm just finished cleaning them up. I got that double taper, and then I'm just going to clean up the edges so that we don't have any sharp edges. A little cold in the shop. Forgot to take my quench bucket out and empty it out the night before, so it froze overnight, as you can see. Okay, so now that we've got everything taken care of, we're just going to finish cleaning up the front of those tongs right there. And I'm gonna be checking the length of these. I really want to make sure that these are even. You know, you can always cut one. You can always draw them out and cut them to the same length. that's no problem. Um, but if they're not the same length or really close to the same length when you go to start fitting them together, you're gonna run in. The jaws are gonna be uneven. You're gonna have one side with a larger radius than the other, so that they're holding the same spot. Okay, so here what I'm doing. This is how I make my V groove in them. I've got a 90-degree chisel that I basically only use to knock this, and then I've got a 90-degree swage, so I've got the positive and the negative here. And with this, I'm just able to knock them in, knock that V groove in there real well. What I've done in the past is, if I before I made myself this hardy block, was I would use the cutting face where you have that set down in your anvil where it transitions to the horn. You normally have that you have a 90-degree right there. You just have to hit it at an angle into that corner. If that doesn't work, you can take, if you have access to a welder, you can just get a piece of angle iron, weld it to a piece of steel that matches your hardy, and you have an instant 90-degree angle. If you don't have a welder, you can make a really simple hardy that just sticks out of your anvil straight up, and then that'll form a 90-degree surface between the side of that hardy tool and your anvil, so you can again hit into it kind of like the same you do with the set down. So now what I'm doing here, I'm just going to try and knock down the front of that so we can start doing our curve. I've seen a lot of people, they'll do this with their post vise. It's, that's an easy option. I personally find I'm able to work quicker by not going over and tightening it in the vise. That's why I do it this way. And it's the biggest thing, just trying to work while the metal's hot. So I personally don't like to run over to the vise too much if I don't have to. So now once I've got that knocked down, I'm gonna start cleaning up the bolster a little bit. That'll help it function a little better. It'll also make it look a little nicer. It'll get you a little wider grip radius. The biggest thing to do is you just got to be careful of that V groove. You can see I'm hitting it, but I'm just lightly glancing off of it. I don't want to hit it too hard. And then I'm always trying to get the two to match up. I actually find that one of the things that takes the longest when you're making bolt tongs is just getting those two to have the same radius on them and fit and be mirror images of each other. Can be a real pain doing that. Actually, I probably spend about 10 minutes for each pair of tongs I make, just trying to align them. Well, I've got you here. If anyone, I'm trying to put out a YouTube video every once or 2 weeks, and I will be giving these tongs away also. People that have seen my videos before know the deal. Like, subscribe, comment, share the video. Those are all entries into who gets to win whatever I make. If you want to stay up to date on what I'm doing outside of YouTube, you can follow my Instagram is Round Lake Forge. And they're all underscores in between each word. And there I do more than tool making. I do a lot of Damascus knives and work like that. So if you like checking it out, go right ahead. If you want to buy tongs, be sure to let me know. I really enjoy making them, and I do sell them on the side, and I have them on my website, roundlakeart.com. I also sell a how-to kit. So the how-to kit is when you're done, you will have 4 sets of tongs, and you start with 1 completed set. So you will start off with your pieces, and you'll be able to see the next step. So you forge a piece up to that step, and then from there you can continue forging them up to the next steps. When you're all done, you'll have 4 sets of tongs when you're all said and finished. I don't want to ask anyone for Patreon or anything. I'd rather work for my money. These YouTube videos, these are kind of my way to give back. So here, I'm just punching the holes out. You guys have seen me do this plenty of times. So that way we can set our rivets and we'll just drift them slightly. Make sure we clean it up when we're done. Drop the rivet in. It's nice to have one hole where it's a little bit kind of press fit, and one hole that spins. Some people they notch the outside face of the tongs to keep a rivet locked in on one end. I just figure I'd skip a step, drift it just slightly. Here I'm just going to cut that rivet to length because it's a little long. And now, actually, what I did here, you guys should never do. You should never leave your hot cut hardy in there while you're working. While I was doing this, I almost hit my hands a few times on it, and it's not fun to when you're swinging a hammer if you bash your hand off of a hardy that's designed to cut metal. You know, you'll mess up your hand pretty bad. So don't do what I did there. So now all we're doing is we are just cleaning up those tongs and getting them to match one another. I trimmed this way down. This is this was a long section of video. I didn't figure I wouldn't make you guys watch it too much, so I sped that way up. But yeah, it's with bolt tongs. It's really important that they do match each other evenly. You'll end up bugging yourself if they're not symmetrical, because the piece will be all wonky and moving around the place. So do take the time, clean them up. It can be tedious, but it's definitely worth it when you're using them. Alright, so now that I've got them all lined up, I just want to make sure that they are going to hold the piece right and that they are going to be comfortable in the hand. I don't want them sticking up, or I don't want them too wide for you to grasp while you're holding your metal. These are made for a 1/2 inch square or 5/8 round. I like to work with 5/8 round a lot because you can forge it into a 1/2 inch square, or you can make other things out of it. And it's about the same price as 1/2 inch square, but you get more volume of material. But that's just my personal preference. If you want to buy 1/2 inch square, go for it. So there you go. Thank you, everyone. Please like, subscribe, share. I really appreciate all of it. All right, have a great week.